I'm just going to say it right off the bat. If you want to build an incredible niche in your custom shower, keep watching this video. As usual, I broke it down a lot. It's only 15 minutes though. Most of it was talking because the shower, if you're watching the whole series, is only 34 to 36 inches. So it's hard to get a camera in there, or it was hard. Anyway, to break it down a little bit, I'm using Decton, basically solid surface material. Could also be granite, quartz, marble, anything that's solid. The key elements though are that I'm interlocking the shelves with the jams, and you'll see in the video, but I'm cutting them so that as they slide together, it looks almost like it was molded together, like the shelves were glued to the sides at a factory. The alternative to that, or the lazy way or the fast way, would be just cutting sides, and then when you wanted a shelf, you just stuck a shelf on top and then cut your next side. You'll learn, as you watch me, the details are the only thing that matters. Anyone can slap together something simple. It's the details that you don't even know about that make you think like, wow, why is this bathroom so much more awesome than like the other, or my neighbors or my friends? Like, it's these little details. And another detail on this one is that all the shelves are stepped back from the jams. So another basically reveal. You have a reveal on the sill, like you always do, like a window, it sticks out more. And then the jams, and then the shelves inside creep in a little bit more. And that helps it look molded, draws less attention to seams or joints. Anyway, what else can I say? Tile on the back of it all follows grout lines in the rest of the shower with a laser. So like when I built a shelf, I didn't just start with new tiles on top of it. I took a laser to see where the grout lines in the room were, and then I cut that first row of tile at every shelf. Another thing, it takes time, but the details matter. Anyway, this one looks really incredible. Hope you can see enough with the camera angles. And if you're watching the whole series, we're almost done. Next up is probably grouting and caulking. But anyway, take a look. Okay, you can see now we have our glass in. It's hard to see how awesome this corner is. Can you see? What can we see? We have our wall of our shower, right? It comes out about, 10 inches. And then it comes across the front. And that's where our door dies into. Can you see that? Yeah, so in the end, I'll try to pull the camera back more in the very end, maybe put it on top of the vanity. But right now, you're in my face. So I'm going to leave this open all day. And I'm going to be ultra careful as I work because I have to build this niche. And like I said before, I would never normally do this. It's just that we have a weird schedule here. So being ultra careful every time I walk through here because it's $4,000 worth of glass. Anyway, we're building our niche. It's the same material as our curb and our little side, what do I call this? Jam, the jam of our shower. Anyway, we're building our niche. It's tall and narrow. It is like, so this is the shelf piece I just cut. When we had this Decton made at the granite place, I had all these pieces. I had three 3-foot pieces made so that I could cut it up for the niche. It's a little too wide, so I'll have to rip a tiny bit off of everywhere that I put it in the jams of our niche, the sidewalls of our niche. But the bottom, the sill, is going to be full. So the full 8, it's like 8¼ inches only. It's tight. It's going to sit on the bottom. Obviously, I'm going to pitch it slightly forward. And then the tops, the bottom will stick out a tiny bit, just like a windowsill does. But then the sides, I'm going to keep just like an 1/8 inch proud of our tiled walls. So I don't want it to be flush with the tile walls because that looks weird. Anytime you try to make something flush, it looks like you did a really bad job. So I want it to stick out beyond our tile just an 1/8. The reason for that is because the back of this is just does not look good. So you can't have it stick out. The back is not polished or finished. So I'm going to put this in. We're going to have a small, low shelf, kind of just for like soap, razors, and then 2 more shelves evenly spaced that are tall, roughly 12 to 13 inches. The first shelf is roughly 5 inches. I don't want to keep yapping. I'd rather show you, but the only way I can show you is like this out here. And then once I do a step, I'll bring the camera inside. We're in a 3-foot shower. I can't set the camera up and work. And if I use like an action camera or something, it's just not well lit. It's not going to look good. So I'll pull the camera in anytime I show an important step. There's one detail I want to show off when I'm doing these shelves, because, you know, we're all solid surface. We can't just, you know, glue the shelves together and have it look nice. Each shelf is going to stop. So our side or our jamb is going to stop. The shelf is going to sit on top, but I'm going to cut out the shelf and the side jamb so that they interlock together. So the shelf ends up sitting back a tiny bit and the side piece looks like it's solid. It's not just chopped off. Basically what I'm trying to say is I'm not just chopping things off and having seams like that where they're equal. They're going to look like they die into each other like that. And that requires 2 interlocking cuts. And it's a lot of effort, but definitely looks nice to have your shelf back, even if it only looks like a 1/4 inch. It just looks way more architected. Anyway, I'm going to get in there. First step, put this sill in, slightly pitched. Everything's going to be slightly pitched, obviously. But I like to get the sill in, let it start to set up so it can't sag. And then I'll cut the next 2 pieces. If I'm worried about it sagging, I'll throw a spacer or just anything that's hard at the back of it so that even if something's pushing down, it can't push beyond that spacer and flatten it out. Just to test out bringing the camera in here. Hope it's not shaky. It's on the tripod, but I'm holding it. Here's our sill. As you can see, obviously it goes on the bottom. It's sitting out just like a windowsill does. I'm going to leave that. It's about a 1/4 inch. And then the rest are going to not stick out that much. And of course, we're going to be slightly pitched. So that's step number 1. Okay, quick step 1. Let's say this is our sill, right? So our sill is in there on an angle. I cut down this next side piece to the height that I want, which is, it's, I don't know, let's say it's 5 inches. It was 5.5 inches. So this is in there on an angle, slanting forward for water runoff. This is cut at an angle as well. I basically draw a straight line across a 90-degree, right? And then I just tilt my tile enough on the saw by like 1/8 of an inch, and I run it through. And that's basically always gives me the angle I want, so that meets. All right, so let's say this is over here. For a close-up, I also shaved back the edge. So I took about a 1/4 inch off of my pre-cut, let's call it a jamb. It's on the sides of our niche. So my pre-cut jamb, because it was the same size as this, but I want it set back. So I took off that much. And now, let's see, I have a scrap of tile. On the outside of the niche, that's sticking out. Let's say it was a top view. Our niche pieces are only sticking out, let's say, cover my face, like that much. Our niche is barely sticking out. So those are the details. I'm going to put these 2 side pieces in. I'm going to lay the next shelf on top of it, and then I'll show you the detail of the interlocking. We got our first shelf going in. We have the sill on the bottom. Now we're putting our second shelf in. And I made the cut for the shelf. Okay, so basically our 2 side walls are in there right now. I put my shelf in, and I drew a line where this piece hit. And then I just chose 3/4 of an inch to take that notch off. So if you're looking from the side now, once I have this shelf sitting in there, right, my new side comes in here and sit on top of that notch. Now where that notch is, I'm going to mark this piece and notch out this, including the tiny angle, right? That's exaggerated, but including the angle that this shelf is going to sit at, the pitch. So I'm going to notch out that, and then when both of these pieces are notched, they're going to interlock, and this is going to look like it's sitting in front, and it's going to make this look like it's inset into the outside. Hope it makes sense. You might be wondering, like, it's not even worth it. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? It's because the alternative is, if these are my sides, and I just stack a piece on it like that, and that's my next shelf, and then I stack the next top on there, you have this ugly cross piece. You're just slapping things together. So there's more of an interlock, and then we also have that recess. So in the end, it's not going to look flush. It's going to look set back like that. Fantastic. Goodbye. So the shelf is sitting. I'm going to slide this down the wall, and it interlocks. Hopefully you can see with the glare. There. The interlock, and it looks like it was formed together, and we have that reveal in the front. I'll show you this once it's in the shower, but we have that reveal in the front. Trying to get the right glare here. It just looks more crafted. You're not just sitting blocks on top of each other, so you'll see it better once we're in there, but again, we don't have room, so I'll show you during the next step. Okay, so now we're in here. Let's try to get a good look. I'm assuming I'll be able to zoom in later, but see here we have our sill sticks out a little more, and then the sides are back a little less than a 1/4 inch. I guess I'd say 3/16. Our side pieces barely come out, so that little bit of ugliness that we see on the back of our Decton will be covered by the caulk line. And then here we have the next shelf and the one above it recessed with that detail that I talked about. And I'll take out all this stuff. So I also had to tile the back. And I don't just stick tile like in there, I followed the grout lines from underneath. I can't get my tripods in the way here. So I took my laser across the other side, I followed this grout line, and that's how I lined up the back. I didn't just center them. Same thing with these lines. That's how I followed those grout lines in there. I didn't just start with a full tile everywhere. So every time I have a shelf, I didn't just put a full square tile. I put my laser up and I followed the grout line out here, and I cut that first tile to that height. Bottom one's tricky because it's a tiny little space. Well, I should say it's going to be tricky to grout because can't get anything in there. I'll probably have to mash it in with my hand and clean it up and scratch out the grout. Anyway, that's that second shelf. Let's show you the second shelf before I go on top of it so you can see how that looks with the cutout. So obviously the cutout is the exact size as this width, so the next piece slides down into it. And then in the back, I don't know if I can give you that angle. On the top, yeah, in the top I did an 1/8 inch space, which gives me with the front of this resting on the side, and the 1/8 inch, or an 1/8 inch spatial on the back gives me the pitch I want. So I think I will clean that up right now, take all those spacers out. This is the next day. I did something else yesterday afternoon just so things could start setting up on the bottom. I have a paranoia of hurting that sill. Usually I try to get the sill in a day before on its own and let it dry, but yesterday I did it all at once, so I only did half of it. I'm going to continue the niche today, but I can clean up. I can take out those spacers right now and clean it up and show you how nice it looks. Okay, just wiped it down. I took out the spacers. All those marks are just the water drying. Wish I could pull the camera back more, but I can't. All right, next, I'll do the next shelf. It's the same thing, and then show you the end. Then I got to do some little cuts on the outside. Let's see, can you see? You can't see. You can see if I go over here. On the bottom of our shower. The front, I'm going to be using the same square tiles. It's just a real pain in the neck with all these cuts, but I have to wrap it up. All right, so I'm finally done with this niche. I'm just taking out all my spacers, getting ready to clean it up. I'm not sure if I'll be grouting this today. I have plenty of other little things to do. I might grout everything else or grout everything at the same time, so I'm only pulling out my grout stuff one last time. And then the trickiest part of this will be caulking every single corner in the niche. As you know, every single change of plane gets caulk for expansion because this wall moves separately from that wall. So hairline cracks will come here if you don't caulk, if you grout instead. Same at the floor where the floor meets the walls. That's our caulk joint. Anyway, I just wanted to show you this. I set up the tripod barely. It's right in the doorway. Just wanted to show this as much as possible, which is still hard. Get a little tilt here while you're in here. But there we have it. We got our short shelf, which is cool. I like that. And then our two roughly 12-inch. The proportions in here are awesome because basically we have this section of niche. We have this central, what ends up looking like a pillar of our center. And then the glass portion, which comes to here, this is our corner of the glass, so this is all glass, is roughly the same size as this. So we kind of have this cool breakdown in here of, or this cool like balance in here, which was intentional all along. So way back in, you know, day one when I'm framing, or when I first had this idea, I had the basic idea, and then I sat in here in the dungeon of a room and I thought things through. And that's how everything worked out. And it's killer for a tiny bathroom that most people would be like, oh, I don't even care. It's tiny. We'll never use it. It's now this awesome place that you want to show off. So fantastic. I'm going to clean up and admire my own work. See you later. So that's another cool niche, or I shouldn't say another unless you've been watching me on Instagram for years. But you'll find that the small parts of a project are where I like to show off, or that's where I take pride, the details, because thinking about something is what sets anyone apart, an artist, a builder, a contractor. To care about a small detail is everything, because anyone can throw together the main parts. It's the little things that require care, and basically everything that looks nice in the world is because someone cared. Not to dive too deep today, but next up in this series, which is almost over, is probably caulk and grout. Then maybe another video with some details. But other than that, the series will be over and we'll go into normal, fun, building things mode.